What's up, everybody? Spare with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with AdrianWannaFly, as
Hi.
as always. Well, I guess not always, but always when it comes to Elder Scrolls Online.
Always.
Always. So basically, this time we're going to be reviewing and throwing out our impressions, first impressions type of thing, of after playing the beta for the weekend. So I had a couple of points that we could go over. The first one, right off the bat, graphics. What did you think of the graphics?
They were pretty good, even though I had to bump mine down quite a bit to low settings.
Well, that's true. You were playing on low.
But the weird thing is that my Skyrim
Hmm.
can run excellent, beautiful graphics, yet this can't.
Hmm.
So
I
I feel
won-
like it's some of the streaming to me from online stuff. I don't know.
I was gonna say I wonder if that's a client side or if that would be like because it's you know what I mean, like if that's their architecture, like they built it differently
Right.
than Skyrim or something, or if that's just because of being online or whatnot. But I was actually able to run on Ultra on most things, and it looked pretty good. I mean, if you for those of you watching, if you haven't checked out the 3-part things that I had uploaded earlier, that like if you want to see it from different points of view, that's fine. But my version was running in Ultra if you wanted to see what the higher end of the spectrum for graphics looked
If you
like on
want
the
to see
game.
what the good stuff looks like, look at this. If you want to see how crappy it looks on my.
Um, I was overall impressed with the graphics in terms of for an MMO, because a lot of times MMOs are kind of their own genre when it comes to graphics. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's because it has to do with like everything's being streamed over the internet or not, but like comparing to things like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars or things like that are also MMOs, I thought they did really good on the graphic side. Other than hair, I,
Yeah,
I,
they.
I saw an article on that one time that said, can next gen please fix hair to where we have realistic hair? Because hair in games is always so bad and rigid.
Seems to be the hardest thing to do.
So I'd consider the graphics a plus. I'm gonna kind of go through and make like plus and minus points to different categories, type of thing.
Pros, good graphic. Cons, the hair.
Yeah, exactly. Combat. What did you think of the combat?
Um, Pretty generic, regular, I think,
For
in MMO terms.
I would agree with the exception of the basic combat. Like the skills were very similar to regular MMOs because they're all number slot hotkeys type thing. I thought the regular combat was a little bit more along the Skyrim vein, like the whole moving and attacking. You can block, you can counter, that kind of stuff. Most MMOs are very like even your main attack is a hotkey, and it's all like
yeah.
auto attack type of thing.
Oh, and
Um,
the archer,
mhm.
there's no ammo, arrow type thing like all the other Skyrims, which is
That's
I was
true.
I was really worried at first. I'm like, am I gonna have to find arrows? Am I gonna have to
Yeah,
do all
that's a
this?
good point because I think I played as an archer the first beta test and I ran into the same thing where I was like, I picked a bow and then I'm like, oh crap, am I gonna have to scavenge for arrows everywhere? But yeah, I think I mean, honestly, that kind of makes sense though. I mean, would you really want an online game where you have to like, oh no, I'm in the middle of a boss fight and all of a sudden I don't have arrows and like
Right.
you die? So yeah, yeah, I was a fan of the combat for it for an MMO. I thought, like, I still prefer Skyrim type combat for a single player experience type of thing, like as far as an action RPG goes. But in terms of the MMO space, I think it was fairly close to a single player action RPG as you're gonna get for an MMO.
Yeah.
Because all MMOs end up having some kind of hotkey or skill based, you know. Um, and I think part of that comes from they were designing it around also being on consoles. So they designed the system to where you wouldn't have like 12 hotkeys at one time, kind of thing, so they can put it on a gamepad and stuff like that. So I thought the combat was pretty good. But story. What did you think of the story and setting?
Um, if you just hop into it, not knowing any other, like playing
Elder
any of the
Scrolls.
Elder Scrolls games, I think you can follow the story pretty decently. Like,
They kind of make it clear who Molag Bal is and what
yeah,
he's up
it's like,
to,
oh, he's a
and
Daedric. Okay, thanks. I don't know
yeah,
what a Daedric is, but I'll find out.
yeah, and eventually that gets cleared up and all that kind of, and FYI, for those of you that watched at least my end, I don't know how you played it on yours, but I skipped through a lot of the dialogue. But that was my fourth beta test. I had been in three other ones, so I knew that first hour or so of gameplay like the back of my hand.
And I could kind
You
of,
know?
like, with me just hopping into it, not knowing,
Hmm.
like, you told me a little bit of the story
Yeah.
as we were going through, but just skipping the dialogue, I can kind of understand what was going on. I'm like, okay, I gotta go to this place.
I
This,
will say though, I did feel like in order to get a broader sense, like a broader setup type of thing, I do feel like it kind of started you out on a clear path, like a overarching story that the whole game is going to take place under, and then kind of dropped it because
yeah,
it was like you go through this whole thing of like getting out of this ethereal prison type of thing and getting away from Molag Bal and helping the prophet, and it kind of wraps you into like this is the story, and then it's kind of like you show up on the boat, like you're like out of that world now and you're back in the real world, and then it's kind of like, oh, we got separated, well, until we find each other, here, go help that random captain.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, even though that was considered, like, helping her with her heist and everything is considered part of the main story quest line, it felt like a side quest to me, type of thing.
yeah.
So I kind of like, I like the story, but I feel like they kind of, at least for that short time that we were allowed to play it. I mean, obviously, it's not access to the full game or anything, but
And it doesn't really like let you know date wise of when this takes place. Like if you try to like put this in the time frames of the other games,
it does. But you have like it doesn't in game.
no, you have to figure it out
Like you'd have
outside.
to research it online or something. I think they
It's a
said it's
millennium before Skyrim and 800 years before the other Oblivion and Morrowind.
yeah. I knew it was somewhere. I knew they put it in a place that it wouldn't like interfere with anything.
But I do like how they kind of made it its own game
Hmm.
where players who aren't familiar with Elder Scrolls can join this game and become a part of it,
Hmm.
not
Yeah, and
knowing.
it's not like really and they didn't really single it out. Like Skyrim was like you're the Dragonborn.
Right.
And if they did something like that in this, it would kind of be like everyone's the Dragonborn.
I'm the Dragonborn.
No,
No,
I'm
I'm
the
the Dragon.
Dragonborn. No, I'm the and that would just be weird. So I do like how they kind of made it. I mean, they did in a way because they make it sound like you're some chosen one, and that's the same story everyone's gonna get. So
Yeah.
they did kind of do that, but it didn't really feel that way. You didn't really feel like you were, super powerful because you're a chosen one. You're just destined to do
You're
something,
just another guy. You
you
feel good
know.
about that?
So, in a way, I think part of it is because we only got to see a little bit of it. It's not like you could just jump in and play 20 or 30 hours in and really understand everything that's going on. So, to me, the story was kind of a neutral point.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't really great, but it wasn't really bad either. It worked, but I wasn't super impressed with it. How about what's the next one? Quests, like quest structures and what kinds of quests did you think they were too fetch questy or stuff like that?
They were kind of just
There,
A to B quests.
yeah, yeah, like
Of
it,
course, we followed mainly storyline quests, but
yeah. Well, like I said, even the some of the story ones, like helping the captain, felt a little side quest-ish already.
yeah,
So some of the other ones, like the dwarven parts one that we were on,
yeah. I don't even. We got like
what
3 or 4 into
and we
it.
didn't even know what we were doing.
It's
Like,
like we're collecting dwarven parts
now,
because
granted, we did skip a lot of dialogue, but you can still kind of speed read through stuff and get a
yeah,
gist of it. And it was stuff like you find a body, there's some note that says people will pay for dwarven parts, and there's parts scattered over. Go find them or something. So some of those were a little bit like forced to me.
right.
That they could have probably done a bit better of a job. Like I know there are guilds. Again, that's probably something you'd have to do later. But like Skyrim and Oblivion and all that, there is the Thieves Guild. I think Warriors Guild. I'm not sure if the Dark Brotherhood's in there
The
or not.
guilds for this game are you making your own. It's like a clan thing.
No. I mean, there's actually guild quests.
Oh, okay.
Like you can go to. They're not called guilds. You're right, because you can make your own guilds now because it's an online game. But there is like
Yeah, there is some type of online
yeah, like it's one of those. There are quest lines for specific like factions or groups or
NPC
whatever.
guilds.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember which ones they are. I know the Thief one and the Warriors, I think, were two of them, and I think there's three or four. So there are those. So those are probably better, because even Skyrim had some of those fetch questy types of things, but they were like under the miscellaneous. But your
Yeah.
main, you had like the main plot, and then you had all the guilds, and then you had like the miscellaneous ones. So probably it's just we didn't get to play it long enough to get into the guild ones, but all the side quests that weren't mains felt a little iffy as far as just like what am I doing and why
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It's like, why am I following this guy in here when he can teleport?
Yeah, that one cracked me up. Like when we're running through that mine and you see him like poof 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, why does he need us to clear a path if he can just warp
Okay,
around?
Nightcrawler, just do it yourself.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. What did you think of the AI overall, like the NPCs and all that stuff?
There, I did not really like it.
It was kind of. I mean, granted, most Elder Scrolls games are not really known for their AI. There's a ton of AI bugs in those usually, but this one was still kind of like.
Well, their main thing has been like, it's not like the AI is super interactive. It's you talk to them, and that's the main interaction you get from them.
Right. Right.
So I
It-
like being with the AI, not having to go up, talk, do something, go up, talk. Like them be there for that sole purpose, just to talk to. I want them to be part of the game.
Yeah, and some of them were like that. Like Jakarin was poofing around and making comments as he poofed and
Right.
stuff like that. So it was somewhat like that, but overall, I'd say it was very like generic AI as far as we commented a couple of times about how the bad guys didn't know you were there until you just ran up behind them and smacked
And
them
you
in the
didn't know
head.
they were bad guys until you
Yeah,
got close enough.
yeah. So it was
The
stuff like that.
distinction of like their character models very similar for like the good guys and the bad guys in the
Well, and especially it's. I mean, it's obvious if it's like a ghoul or a zombie or something, but when it's like an orc bandit,
yeah.
it's like they could be an NPC giving you a quest, or they could actually be a highwayman that's trying to rob you. So it's like in that regard, I agree. It was very hard to determine. It's like, are you good? Rah! Oh, guess not. Kind of thing.
Maybe they were going for that you don't know thing.
They could be. They could be.
We're just saying our opinions.
We're. Don't get me wrong. We're not really.
kill us
We're
for
not
this.
probably qualified to talk about it. We're just people that play the game and are giving comments about it. Another point? Did you have any latency issues like lag or anything?
No.
I don't think I had really any lag.
There was maybe like a few times where I would kill somebody and stand there for a second, and then they would die.
Yeah, the only glitchy things I had seemed very like game engine glitch, not latency. Like AI bugs or things like that. I had I had a hard time picking things up. Like when you'd kill something and they'd drop and it was like press E. If I moved my crosshairs ever so slightly, I lost that prompt and it wouldn't open it. So I would stand there for like 10 seconds or something, just like, nope, nope, nope. Oh, I got it. Oh, it's one gold piece. Awesome. You know, and stuff like that. But I mean, as far as like, I'm fighting this guy, nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden I die. I didn't see too much of that. I did see one where there was, although I guess it might not have been lag, he might have just standing there, but it looked like there was a player that was in a combat zone and just standing, and the like enemies were attacking him.
I did not see that.
But I don't know if he was like in his menus or something, just standing there or AFK though. So I can't really say if that was lag or not. But other than that, I mean, I'd say the lag was a positive. They seem to have a really good handle on the latency stuff. What did you think of the group abilities, like
I was just
parties
thinking
and
about that. They
parties and stuff?
well, we had the problem at first finding each other. I don't know if that was because the groups are newer or just there's something bugged or something, but the idea of it's like a regular MMO where you just meet up with friends. We didn't really see many
Groups.
group quests.
That's true. We didn't see a lot of party quests. Again, we were in very early stages, like maybe 2-3 hours in or something, you would have found more.
I feel like you'll get a lot of people who start off the game and want to play with their buddies right away.
One thing that I also noticed is I couldn't get a handle on whether the quests were instance based or not. Because we were doing a quest and it was to kill that Orc King dude.
Yeah.
And when I killed him, it triggered for you too. But then at the same time, when we were trying to free Jakaran, we both had to open the gate and we saw two different Jakarans walking down the hall. Like, not on the same screen, but you were watching one, I was watching a different one.
They need to make it so it's... we had the problem when we were actually inside the tavern, and that woman came in screaming for help, and then she turned to me after screaming for your help, and I was like, what?
Yeah. Like, I accepted it, and I was talking to her, and then she turned and was yelling at you. I remember that now. Yeah, like, that's what I mean. Like, they didn't really...
Hey, help me! Oh, wait. Ooh, you. Help me!
It's because you had a better shirt at the time.
Oh, yeah.
She thought you were more armored up. But, no, like, I guess my thing is I don't really care either way, but it should be more clearly defined.
Yeah.
Whether the quests are group quests or not group quests type of thing. Like, I do like the Old Republic for that. Like, there's these big green instance doors type of thing, like hologram walls, that it says it's for this player class, and you can walk through them, and if you walk through them, then it, like, everything else goes away, and you go almost into, like, a single player world for a minute. Like, that area becomes single player, and you do your story mission, and then you come back out, and it's back out everywhere else. And you can do it with a group. The only thing is, if you have two people of the same class, since you're both doing the same mission, you have to... there's a setting where you have to, like, make sure that both two of the same class can enter an instance, but it's very obvious.
Right,
like, if you put your marker over it, it's like story quests for Jedi Warrior, whatever. You know, and so you know very clearly, oh, I can't go in there, it's red because I'm not that class, or whatever.
They just need to show it better.
This one, yeah, it didn't really explain if we're in a group, does it work for everybody, does each person have to do it? It was kind of confusing in that regard. The other thing I would say is getting the group mechanic to work was very finicky. And again, it is a beta, so they may not have had the tutorials or something built for that.
I think it was newer for the beta.
Yeah, like, they might not have had tutorials or anything in place for that, and when the game actually launches, they might. But we paused the videos or stopped recording, and we spent, like, 15 minutes, something like that, like, trying to figure out how to get in a party. And then when we did, we were in, like, 2 different instances type of thing, and that was all I still don't know why, when you went down into the ship, it threw you to the gate of the city. That was weird. I almost want to chalk that up to a glitch, because I don't know what that was. But overall, I mean, it worked well. We did okay once we got in a group. It was just getting in a group and figuring out how it was kind of complicated.
In the group, like in the group screen, we could assign roles. I didn't know if you noticed that.
I did, but I just...
healer, tank,
we were kind of derping around, so I didn't really think it would be that big a deal. Because a lot of MMOs and stuff have that with group abilities. Like,
I'm wondering if they do, like, if they have, like, a raid type thing.
I think they're supposed to. I think we just weren't up to the level, or didn't play it long enough, or didn't get to play it long enough that I don't think we got to that point. I think we were still kind of in the prologue kind of thing, because I read somewhere, it was a Game Informer article or something, that mentioned that there would be a raid type, or their answer to raids. You know, like, they're doing their own thing or something, but it's supposed to be like raids. And yeah, you're right. It's you'll find people that have built their character to be a healer, or, you know, whatever. So I think it's one of those, like, it would be fun, because I think the whole reason Elder Scrolls Online has kind of happened was basically people wanted Skyrim with friends.
Yeah.
You know? So in that regard, like, the group ability worked when we got it working. But the instructions and explanations for the system definitely needs to be cleared up better.
And the main thing is, I feel like they could have just done Skyrim multiplayer, and...
I think there's actually a mod for that, actually.
There probably is.
It's like derpy and doesn't work that great, but I think there is a way that you're supposed to be able to do, like, a multiplayer.
But if they were just trying to basically do it so I don't know.
I have to be honest. After doing like 3 or 4 beta tests, again, you're retreading the same stuff because it's always over like a weekend or something. And I never really had a whole lot of time to delve into it, so I didn't get very far. Every time I kind of always did the same spot, so I didn't really learn a whole lot new other than what they had changed from the previous test. But one thing overall I have always kept kind of feeling is it's fun, but I would have rather had like Elder Scrolls 6
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like I know some people really want the multiplayer experience, but for me, I would have rather had a much more polished single player type of thing.
I hope
And
this doesn't replace any future Elder Scroll games.
yeah, I hope they're not. Well, now the one thing is this is basically being done by Zenimax Online.
Yeah.
And so Bethesda is not, from what I understand, is not like wrapped up in it. So I'm hoping that means they still can work on like an Elder Scrolls 6 or something down the pipeline. And you're right, I hope that them working on this or keeping it updated and maintained doesn't in any way hinder another installment. Because now with the PS4s and everything, that would be awesome. Like the next gen consoles and everything, they can bump everything up and
Right.
it'd be fun. Classes. What were your opinions of the classes and class structure and
Um,
leveling systems?
we had our main we spent all that time in character creation to make our class,
Mm-hmm.
and then I feel like once we actually got in the game, it didn't matter because of the weapons we chose.
That's true. There's 3 branches that are like per your class. Like when I picked a Nightblade, and so I had like siphoning, assassination, something else. Um,
I
but I
picked
think I think a lot of it does come down to your weapons.
I picked a warrior,
Yeah,
so
but you used a
I was gonna
bow,
I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, I'm gonna be a tanky person,
tanky archer.
and there wasn't really much of like a tankiness, and there wasn't much of all I had to do was put all my points into whatever I
Right.
had at the time.
And I feel like I'm kind of mixed on that because I agree that it was kind of vague, like as far as what is the purpose of picking a different class, but at the same time, that's kind of always been an Elder Scrolls thing is leveling as you go, or what you use levels.
Yeah,
So I kind of not sure if that's really a pro or a con,
I
because
I don't see the picking an overall class at the beginning. Why not just throw you in and you make your class as you go?
I think that would probably be my beef, is that if they're gonna do the Elder Scrolls thing of level as you go, then just tell them to make a character like you do in Skyrim and just go, and then you can pick what weapon you want, and then all that kind of. I agree. I don't really see the point of forcing the characters or the players to pick a class when it's just gonna. I mean, you have your 3 root branches, but you're right. Most of your skills and stuff were determined by your weapons and what armor you wore and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it wasn't bad like for a game if a player's just jumping in and says, "Hey, is this game fun?" The leveling mechanics aren't bad; it's a lot of fun, but the overall picking of a class feels kind of pointless.
Right.
So I would say the classes is kind of a negative, but the leveling mechanics is a positive.
Yeah.
So it's the the other thing, speaking of character creation, that I found weird is I didn't feel any weight to the Dominion you picked, or whatever
Yeah.
they called it.
The
I forget what they called it now.
your faction basically.
Yeah, it was like the Ebonfall Covenant, and I didn't feel any weight to that. Like they didn't bring it up. Nobody mentioned it. Nobody talked about the war between the 3 factions. Like
Yeah.
that
I'm
was
just
another
why did I
thing.
choose this class exactly? What?
Yeah, that was another thing. Like for kind of like the class thing that we just brought up was kind of like why even bother pushing everything into factions if you're not going to bother bringing up the factions at all. And again, I mean, we only got like a couple hours into it, so they might have later, and it might have gotten more prominent down the road, but I
I feel
got
like that's a starting point
yeah,
type
like I
thing.
feel like you should at least bring it up in the starting point, like what faction you're from or something, because I mean, in my the beta test before this one, I got the farthest I ever got, and I got like 10, 15 hours into it, something like that. Maybe not that long. It was probably closer to like 5 or 10. Um, and like the story was moving forward, and there's still stuff happening, but I still never really heard much mention of the factions. So that was kind of a Like, why is this here? And what I didn't like about that is if it's kind of like we even said at the beginning when we were making our characters was let's pick races that are in the same faction so we are in the same areas kind of thing. And I feel like that limits the players if they want to play like we did. If they want to play with your friends or group up or whatever, you're forced to kind of pick that Dominion unless you don't want to see them for like 20 hours or something until you get past the starting
And
area.
we don't even know if picking different
Yeah,
classes.
I don't actually know if you ever run into the other Dominions or if you're always in different places or something
Or
either.
if we even start off in different places.
Oh, I know you start off in different places because I played as a Argonian the first time,
Oh, okay.
and you end up as like a shipwreck or something. Maybe that was the Khajiit guys. I don't remember, but I played as all three.
Okay.
And they all had different starting areas once you get out of the Molag Balls dimension or whatever. And I don't know how long it takes you before you meet a common area where you can all meet up or something. And so that's what I mean is it was like for the lack of weight the factions had, I feel like it's kind of a big restriction to put on players that they are picking people so they can play with their friends or whatever in that same area, not knowing when they're going to be able to meet up. But then, picking that faction doesn't really matter, and you're kind of restricting people for no visible reason, in my opinion. But um, controls. What did you think of the control schemes? Now you played Skyrim with a keyboard and mouse, right?
Yep.
So how did that compare to the?
It was pretty basic, pretty simple. Um, kind of like just like Skyrim.
Hmm.
Um, for MMOs, it's very same.
I feel like for an MMO per se, it's like very basic, if that makes sense. If like normally a lot of like I've played a lot on the Old Republic. That's ending MMO, and I've got like a maxed out character or two on that, and your screen is just filled with hotkeys. Like I had three different hotbars with skills and abilities and all this kind of crap. So I felt like it was very minimal for control wise. You didn't have to remember a billion key combos or anything like that. It was kind of like you had your 1 through 5 and then your basic attacks and things like that and all your just interactive stuff. Now, I didn't do it this time because we were in a rush to record and I didn't want to take the time to set it up, but the last test I was on, I did hook up a PS3 controller um, to my PC and did like a expatter profile thing. That actually made basic stuff very simple. Um, it makes the hotkeys a little bit more restrictive depending on how you set up the keys type of thing. I had mine to where if you held like the R2 and L2, it would shift to different skills kind of thing. But as far as basic controls, running around, attacking, all that kind of stuff, it made it a lot more like relaxing. Like you weren't at alert hitting a bunch of buttons. You could just kind of chill with your controller. So, for the PC gamers that don't like keyboard and mouse, this does support controllers type of thing in a roundabout way. I think they said when it actually launched, it would actually have full support. Mine was kind of a jury-rigged backdoor way of doing it, but I think they said that there's a way that you'll be able to just plug in a 360 controller if you have one, and it would just recognize it in the future. Probably because they're building it around also coming to consoles in April, or was it April or May?
I think March, April.
Well, it comes out 1 month, and then the consoles come out like the month after. So I think the consoles are April, but I might be wrong about that.
April 4th and place. It comes out April 4th for Windows and PlayStation, Xbox, June.
Oh, June. Okay, so it's a couple months away from that. So yeah, I think because they're doing that in mind, I think the PC one is going to have controller support, but even if it doesn't, there's ways to do it and you can play it that way. So, but it's not hard to set up and it wasn't real complicated control. So I like the control scheme. I thought it was pretty easy and simple to use, but effective. It didn't feel like, man, I wish there was a button for this or anything. Um, What about the environment and settings? Did you like the places we were going to and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was very classic Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, well,
Mountains, villages.
one thing I was kind of looking forward to about this one is most Elder Scrolls game was one area. Like, Oblivion was Cyrodiil, or which one's the whole world? Is it Cyrodiil or Tamriel?
Tamriel is the whole world.
Tamriel's the whole world. Cyrodiil was the capital city area.
Yep.
So Oblivion was Cyrodiil. Skyrim was, well, Skyrim.
Skyrim.
Morrowind was Morrowind. All that kind of stuff. And they've always talked about these other places in the games. Like, the Khajiits were from one place. Name escapes me at the moment. I don't remember where they're from. And then, like, some isles. Something Isles. Anyways, and the Argonians were from like the Black Marsh area with like a swampy area. Like they always referenced where these other
Shivering Isles.
Shivering Isles isn't where Khajiits are from. It's like Sheogorath Crazy Man place.
Oh. What were you talking about the Shivering Isles for?
No, it's something Isles. It was like the Aswarian Isles or something where the Khajiits are from.
Oh.
They're like home nation or whatever. But anyways, my point was that in all the Elder Scrolls games, Oblivion especially, Oblivion had a lot of references to other places in Tamriel, but you never get to see them in the games. Actually, didn't Skyrim take place in Solstheim? Maybe? I don't remember. Well, there was an expansion for Morrowind that took you there, where the werewolves and all that kind of stuff were. So I think that would be cool. Like, I like the graphics and I like the environments that I've seen so far, but I think it would be neat just to see all these other places come from the developers and not like a mod that a fan made or something, but like it's actually from the people who made the franchise, that they show you finally where some of these other places are that you've never got to go. I think that would be kind of neat. I've been hearing a lot from the beta test of a lot of people feeling like it's falling into the same rut that the Old Republic did, and that was like it feels like a Skyrim and not enough of a multiplayer kind of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it just made me want to play Skyrim more.
Yeah, like, I mean, we played it as a group, so there's obvious multiplayer interaction, but like I've never really like there's a lot of really successful MMOs like WoW and stuff that you go on and you see like tons of people. Now, granted, it's a beta test. Not everybody. It's closed beta test too. It's not even an open test. So
Yeah,
like
they still have a lot of players for the beta test though, and
they did have a lot of people on there, but it still felt like everybody was just doing their own thing. It could be just because we're all trying to bull rush through it and see as much of it as we can because it's a beta test. I don't know. Some of that is always hard to gauge when it's a closed beta test and you only have testers allowed and everything. It's not like open to the public because you never know how the public's going to deal with it. But I personally, I agree. I felt like I was kind of just playing a bigger, more expansive Skyrim, and it kind of made me just want to go play something like Skyrim. And I didn't really feel vested in the multiplayer side. Like it wasn't like, if you do this with 4 or more people, you get more XP. Or something like there was no real incentive to do it with more than one person. It was all just like you could just play through it by yourself. And that was, now me personally, I'm a big Knights of the Old Republic fan, so I was a little disappointed when they made the same thing with this that they did with Knights of the Old Republic, that they took a single-player franchise and made it an MMO. That I was like, just give me Knights of the Old Republic 3. I don't care. And that was a big flaw that I've heard a lot of people talk about with the Old Republic. Like, they all viewed it as a con. It was like there's no end game, there's no PvP, raids and all the stuff that made like WoW really successful. And I was kind of like, well, I don't really care. I wanted Knights of the Old Republic 3 anyway. But I've heard a lot of people that were involved in the beta kind of saying the same thing about this one, is that the story's fun, all that kind of stuff, but it feels like a glorified single player kind of thing. And again, it might be too soon to tell being that it's still closed and you don't have actual public people. But I kind of feel like it was a more single player experience. I wasn't seeing a lot of incentive to do group activities or even be notified of group activities. It wasn't like, hey, here's all this side quests, but by the way, you can do these quests that are group quests.
Yeah.
Kind of like you mentioned before with the group ability, I didn't see any group quests or anything like that. I know they're there, but they just seem kind of like not there. I know they're in the game, but you shouldn't really have to go mining for them. Um, what did you think of the interface, like the graphic user interface and menus and all that kind of stuff?
It was pretty simple. Everything was good. I like how when from other players' views, if you're doing something, it shows.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of neat. How, like, if you're on the map, you're holding a map, and if you're in your inventory, you're in a bag and stuff. That was kind of neat. Um, I agree. Like, it was simple, clean, easy to use. My one probably flaw I had is I again, you could probably fix this with key bindings, is just change what keys do what, but I seem to always open on everything but my inventory.
Yep.
Like when you'd hit tab or like just want to open the menu system, it always went to like character, or journal, or map or something, and I was like, you had to scroll over or then reach across the keyboard and hit I to go to your. Again, you could change the keys, but it was still like I feel like your inventory should be used a lot more than that. That it was kind of a little bit frustrating that it defaults to something that seems out in the middle of nowhere, and it was always opening up to other menus instead of your inventory, and you had to kind of like pan over. That would probably be my only fault with it. Other than that, it was fairly easy to use. It has kind of like Skyrim did. It had the information down on the bottom, like press E to do this, and had tooltips and pop-ups and tutorials and everything to go through all that. So that was pretty good. Um, let's see. Is there anything else we should go over or cover?
Um, is it worth paying for?
Yes, that was going to be my last point. Whenever we were done with this, is would you bottom line? Would you pay the monthly fee and buy the game and all that stuff?
Honestly, no. I would rather spend my money on a game that at this point is more established and has more content, such as WoW.
Yeah, yeah. If you're going to pay a monthly fee,
Right.
yeah. I'm inclined.
Maybe once they clean it up a lot in the future after it comes out and it has some good
Patches and all
yeah.
that stuff. I'm inclined to agree that we talked before during the beta test and after that it was kind of like I would rather have paid $65 or whatever for a PS4 version of Skyrim's or Elder Scrolls 6
Yeah.
kind of thing than pay the monthly fee. The other thing worth noting is consoles. The console version is going to get super expensive because basically they've come out and said you don't need PlayStation Plus. I don't know about Xbox Live. That's been I don't think they've commented on that one, but a lot of people were concerned with PlayStation moving to requiring PS Plus for some of the online games.
Who cares though? It's an
Well,
Xbox.
well, no. Here's my thing: is that for PC, I don't think it matters really. It's just whether or not you want to pay it, because it's just like every other MMO. You buy the game and you pay a monthly fee. But they did it to where you don't have to have PS Plus, but you still have to pay the monthly fee. And I mean, that makes sense because they don't care about PlayStation Plus. They don't see any of that money. They want their money. So that makes sense. But my problem is that there's just a stat that released like 2 days ago or something that over 50% of PS4 owners now have PlayStation Plus, and there's more on PlayStation 3. So it's like people are already paying for it. So exempting it doesn't seem to really matter that much. So you're going to be looking at buying the game, paying whatever you pay monthly or annually for PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, and paying a monthly fee. And that's some of the stuff that I look at and go, is it really worth it? I'm already doubting it for just PC users, that just pay the monthly fee. But then on top of paying for Live or something else, it was kind of like console-wise, they would have to do a lot for me to see that as a viable pay-for option. But no, if they end up doing like, I know a lot of the PR always says, no, no, we'll never go free to play. BioWare said the same thing with the Old Republic, and then a year later they went free to play. With a subscription model, like you could do either or, but still the option wasn't there, and then a year later it was there. So it was
Right.
like, even though they're PR people and everybody says they won't, I think in this climate they're gonna have a hard time maintaining that business model. Um, but yeah, I think bottom line, if I'm being really honest, I would agree with you that I would rather play a more well polished, more content richer single player experience and just buy a game, than pay the monthly or play something that's more established that has more content and things.
The
So
only reason you would pay for Elder Scrolls to play is that you wouldn't want to see pandas from World of Warcraft. Which, hey, I feel you.
yeah, yeah, I can't help it. Every time I see those, I think of Kung Fu Panda. Um, but no, actually, I think honestly, I'm a big story person. I always love to get into the characters and universes of games and stuff. And so I think honestly the biggest incentive for me to play Elder Scrolls Online would be to see those new areas and interact with some of those places that you never got to see in the previous Elder Scrolls installments. Um, but yeah, combat wise and everything, I didn't really feel anything that really pulled me away. Like, I want to play this instead of Skyrim. It actually had the opposite effect. That was like playing the beta test was like, okay, that was fun. Now where's Skyrim?
Yeah.
You know. Um, so yeah, I guess that's pretty much all of our thoughts and impressions of the beta test that we got to participate in. Um, Again, just opinions. Everyone's entitled to their own. Leave comments, feedback, whatever you want, letting us know what you guys think. If you were able to participate in the betas, feel free to voice your impressions and opinions on that.
And we will have a Q&A in the comments if you wish to question us.
Yeah, it's fine. And again, I know a lot of people that are real advocates of the monthly subscription fee and all that kind of stuff. I've never personally been one. I always felt like Guild Wars was probably the best way to do things, is you buy the game and then you just play it. But everyone's got their own points of view and reasons for why they think what they think. So feel free to leave feedback and comments and all that kind of stuff. But I think that'll about wrap up our review slash summary of our impressions of the beta test for Elder Scrolls Online. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and we will see you next time. Peace.